Show me elves. I should explain. I just thought it'd be fun because I like both game franchises to take the IP, I guess, of Legend of Zelda and transfer it into like a Souls-like. And I realized that's sort of been done with Twilight Princess, which is why I'm going to take some inspiration from that. But they didn't go like all the way on that. As far as I'm concerned, there's more to play with there. So I'm gonna play with it. They've got elves, right? I'm like almost certain. This is an elf? That makes things more difficult. This is what I've been sort of doing as a brainstorm. I started without you. I'm sorry, you just took so long to get here. I also drew a separate picture at work. What about Elden Ring? They've got elves, right? Huh? What was I talking about just now? I mean, well, okay. Thinking about it, clearly he has to be depressed. So we're gonna start with Zelda, the main character. He, oh, look at that. Can I be honest? That looks nothing like her. Alright, what was I doing? My sort of thought right off the top was that we, as a reference for Link, I mean Zelda, use Twilight Princess. It's a pretty good place to start, I feel. Oh, that's really cool. I'm just gonna grab this. We're also gonna grab a... Oh, are these the elves? The Alabaster Lords? Alabaster Lords. This is a pretty cool look. Ooh, I like it. Because the idea is that I also want to like construct sort of a storyline that's sort of thematically, spiritually Souls-like, while keeping it in like the universe of Zelda himself. Let me read up on the Alabaster Lords. A race of ancients with skin of stone who were said to have risen to life when a meteor struck long ago. Originators of gravity sorceries, darker counterpart, and the Onyx Lord. Oh, is it just a glowing version of them? It is, isn't it? Oh well, lore. How long is this video? Please be short, please be short, please be short. Let's fucking go. What was that? That sword looks pretty masterful. Man, it would be so much easier to insert Zelda into this universe. It would be so much easier than trying to imbue a Dark Souls vibe. Or maybe it isn't, I don't know. But like they're handing it to me on a silver platter. This elf-like race who wield bluish swords. Yeah. They exist. Aww. Oh, I was gonna say I was very thankful for the nice high quality images, but these are just images. Man, this is definitely going into the reference folder as Master Sword. How much meteor is there? They can't all have this sword. Alabaster Lord face. Show me a close-up. Okay, well that's not a close-up. What the fuck is this? What the fuck is a Pthumerian? Hi Aragorn. Man, you guys are not pretty. Alright. Drop that into the reference gallery. Kind of unrelated, but this this sound file, this sound wave, looks exactly like the sword from earlier that the Alabaster Lords were wielding, the one out of Meteorites. Isn't that crazy? This guy's serving so much. This guy, too. And now I'm out of beer. This world is so unfair. Okay, cool. Don't know why I did that. I just drew a face for no reason. Very helpful. What are the facial features of Link? Cutesy nose, long eyebrows, amazing eyeliner, enviable. I always feel like his mouth is like weirdly wide. I feel like a lot of Links have long mouths. I mean, a lot of Zeldas. This hairstyle, softish jaws. That's Link. Break him down to his component parts. Long eyebrows, cute nose, banging eyeliner, long mouth, hair sweeties, hat. Does that look like Link? I think that looks like Link. And so as long as we always have these components... Forgot the jaw. As long as we always have these components, it will look like Link. Case in point. Circular jaw, cute button nose. Same thing going on here. Is it? No, it's not. You know why this doesn't look like Zelda? The jaw is too hard. How do we fix that? We make it not hard. See? Boom. Now that we have our formula, what can we do with it? He's got to be depressed. Or at least he's got to be like really, really depressing. Not that nose. Why do I not know how to draw noses all of a sudden? Another good point to note is that his eyebrows usually go up like that. So let's see if we can keep that in mind. I think the way to really make sure he looks as depressed as possible will be to cover most of his face with the bangs. Because I like what's going on here, what I did here with sort of the very thick, choppy bangs, as opposed to what's going on here with sort of not that. Although I will note that a lot of Souls-like hair is very thin. So it might not work out, but we'll have to take it in stride. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. I also do think it makes for an interesting silhouette to have the ears quite large, as opposed to having them kind of unobtrusive like they are in a lot of Legend of Link titles. What even actually is Link's hat? Let's take a look at that a little closer. What's going on there? So we can understand what the intention is. What is it? Phrygian cap. Did I just see gallbladder? Is that the piece of fat that sits on top of the gallbladder as well? Oh my god, Link's a Smurf. This is huge news. Oh my god. Is this why his hair looks like that? Because of these thingies? Is it like a mistranslation from the pixel art or something? That'd be nuts. I wonder if it could be to like cover his ears or something so they don't get too cold. I mean, I think it has to go down because otherwise it just looks kind of goofy. Like, I don't want it to be actually a Smurf hat. I want it to resemble Link's hat. That we understand from whence it comes. I do like this sort of, this almost like foundation that's going on here where the hat looks like this. Oh my god, it's a Christmas hat as well. The Phrygian cap is like it's the foundation of our society. It's Legend of Zelda, it's Santa Claus, Smurfs. This is blowing my mind right now. Phrygian cap is him. How old is this? There's like statues of people wearing this hat. Phrygian cap has been with us since like the dawn of civilization. The dawn of mankind. Holy shit. Oh my god. Phrygian cap helmet. Hang on, I'm going to finish this thought first, and then we're moving on to Phrygian cap helmet because I think that's awesome. Here's the hat itself, and then the ears would sort of go in here. Folded down so it doesn't get cold. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you understand? Do you understand what this could mean for highly unkind? Cap's green. Okay, that's something to think about here. I also want to explore the potentials within using it as an armor piece, because that's super interesting. I do like this silhouette that they had there, but it's so Smurfy. Or is it? Is it too Smurfy? What if I go like this? Could it be Legend of Zelda? Ooh. I've given it some thought. I'm a big fan of the helmet thing. Let's explore that a little more. I enjoy the idea of the side things coming over here. And then I enjoy the idea of maybe still keeping that almost foundation-like bit. But how does this look if we go like this? Is this absurd? I don't think it is necessarily. I don't think this is absurd. And I think it gives it like a nice silhouette from the side. The only worry I have is whether this is recognizable as Zelda. Why is the shape of it that way? What is the practical use for the shape of it being that way? Can we manipulate it? Is it just so that there's like space in between the head and the top of the helmet? Why is the Phrygian cap shaped like that? They signify freedom and pursuit of liberty. What's Phrygians? Is Link Phrygian? Dacian prisoner with Phrygian cap. Okay, Phrygians were an Indo-European people inhabiting Anatolia. Dacian prisoner with Phrygian cap. Were they always prisoners? Associated antiquity with these people, with the Trojans. Interesting. Nolan, put this in your movie. Felt cap of emancipated slaves of ancient Rome, which was an attribute of libertas. In the 16th century, the Roman iconography of liberty was revived in emblem books and Numismatic. What does numismatic mean? No, not AI. Oh, interesting. It's the study of currency. Figure of libertas is depicted with a pileus, and now it represents freedom, or a fight for freedom and liberty. So this specific, the Phrygian cap is always bent over. So Link isn't really wearing a Phrygian cap, is he? Why are the Smurfs wearing Liberty headgear? Like, this is clearly a Smurf hat. What does it mean if it's backward? Backward Phrygian helmet. Roman army talk. What corner of the internet am I on? It's a nasal helmet. That's not it. Why is it backward here? Does it have to be forward? Why do Smurfs wear Phrygian caps? That's my question. What the hell is this? Because it symbolizes freedom, equality, and emancipation. What? The creator, the Belgian cartoonist Peo, subtly gave the Smurfs a uniform look that represents free, egalitarian, and classless society. So you're telling me that the Smurfs wear Phrygian caps because they've emancipated themselves and created a egalitarian, classless society? What did it symbolize in the French Revolution? Liberty and freedom. This is genuinely doing something to me. Why are the Smurfs? Why is that? Why is that what's happening? I'm just really thrown off. This guy, I like this hat. Does this look like Link? If I add this and this and this and this, kinda. What if I make it green? And then we can, like, we can work that into the story that the cap represents his fight to, like, liberate Hyrule from Ganon. I think he should be sickly also. We need to remember this is a Dark Souls game. Alright? Don't forget. Never forget. Always remember. This is not sickly. This is sickly. I do kind of still like the idea of having some sort of brim. Let me steal that from here, maybe. Yeah, I like that. It's not out of the question that you can still later on in the game, you would be able to acquire one of these. Well, maybe it can be blue. Sort of harken back to Breath of the Wild. Probably not. We can make it all. Let's just walk the line, straddle it, straddle me, and everyone gets what they want, and everyone is happy. Right? Sound off in the comments if you're happy, and also if you're not happy. Just give me engagement. This guy has such an intense gaze. And we can still have, like, the hat flop around. Like, when he runs, it would, since he bobs up and down on the way up, it would sort of flatten, I imagine. And on the way down, what's a game engine capable of? Would this ever go backward? But that would be so much to keep track of. Right? Whether it's facing backward or forward. Because when it goes up, it would just... Or when it goes down, I mean, it would go like this. And I suppose it's not unreasonable to sort of assume that it might fall backward. Okay, so this is the head. Make a new cell. So it goes up, and then it goes up and down. And then it would go up again, because what goes down must come up. Okay. Okay, so that's, yeah, I guess that's an option if he's ever on horseback. We can look into that. What a productive use of my time. What is there to say about the drawing process from this point onward? I mean, mostly I just sort of locked in to drawing Zelda. I turned off the recording of my voice because my partner called, and I do have my priorities, and while you're pretty high up there, I feel like I'm doing most of the work in this relationship. So if you want to be up there on the list with my partner, then you're gonna have to put in some legwork. My partner called me and told me some important gossip that I needed to be in on. You know, I couldn't miss that. When it was my turn to talk, I told him about the horrific discovery that I made about Smurfs, which everyone needs to know forever now, because I am honestly devastated. It's really blown my entire worldview to the moon and back.
The traditional Phrygian cap representing freedom and liberty. Look what he's wearing! Papa Smurf. It's even red!
Yeah, he's the only one with a red one though.
And why are they blue? Does that represent... Oh my god. Look at the colors on Papa Smurf. He's red, white, and blue. Like the colors of the French flag.
In regards to actual work I was doing, I just deliberated a little more. Oh yeah, I drew the elf ear. You're probably already past the elf ear, but the elf ear I did because I didn't really want to think that hard, and also I just felt like doing an elf ear. There was nothing that spurred it on. I just decided to do it, and I did. Wow, such good reasons that I have that I use. And then I decided to do like tiny little thumbnails, and that worked out best because then I could do the whole body in one go, which was really what was holding me back for a lot of the other bits. I thought that it might be fun to have sort of a circle theme in regards to his armor and these plates hanging off his belt. I thought the plates could be some sort of like replacement for the Sheikah slate because they could like carry runes, and I might implement that later, like some sort of runic implementation of the Sheikah slate, because I don't really feel like the Sheikah slate makes that much sense in a Dark Souls set theme universe. And so I decided to skip on the Sheikah slate for now, and I did end up ditching the circle runes just because they didn't play nicely with me, and instead didn't use them. You'll see later that I did feel like it was really empty in there, so I ended up replacing it with potion bottles, but still later I decided, once I had finished the entire thing, that I hated everything, and so I revamped almost the entire thing. I wanted to implement a little more of Phrygian stuff, just to play with that, because the cap is obviously Phrygian, as we have discovered, and as has sent me spiraling into depths that I might not ever come back from. But yeah, the sword is Phrygian inspired. The shield is circular, so I thought it looked kind of cool. I wanted it to be almost like coofed. What's the word? Ocular indentation. Concave, convex. It's just sort of like convex in its shape. So yeah, I just thought it was kind of cool. I did end up ditching that, kind of, but then bringing it back in the final iteration of it. To test the efficacy of the design in a Dark Souls sort of style, I actually threw him into a Dark Souls background, and I did this trick where I threw in a little bit of Gaussian blur and then did a high pass with a luminosity mask to bring back the edges, and it gives this sort of retro feel that is very visible in sort of oldish games like Skyrim and the original Dark Souls. And I mean, it's pretty cool. I did throw it onto the because I also designed a room, and maybe we're at that bit now. I don't know. I'm just gonna be sort of talking, and the video is gonna be playing underneath me, and you're just gonna have to deal with that. But whenever I wanted to see how a design worked in the style of Dark Souls, I would bring it into a new folder, and I would do Gaussian blur, maybe 5, 10, 15%, and then a high pass with a luminosity mask. Yeah, it always worked pretty good. Also, when I did this, I would also mostly bump the contrast way up and the shadows way down. Up in intensity, but down in their value. Because, I mean, something that Dark Souls does that is very effective in its graphics is that they'll make everything super dark and like wreathe everything in shadows, which like both shrouds it in mystery and makes it very stylistically appealing, but also hides any imperfections that might be there in lack of polygon count and splotchy texturing. But and since they do that, it works out really well and nobody really notices, and that's why the older game works so well. Which is why in the new games, like there was this game that, or a revamp that came out recently of a pirate ship game or something. It's a shit game now, but what they did is they upped the polygon count and made everything super high fidelity, and like one-on-one, each individual thing looks pretty good. But as like a compound, it looks really, really bad and sort of nasty because they got rid of all the dark shadows and the sort of gritty texturing that made the original game look really nice and honestly more realistic, because the new game looks like you're just playing with clay. It looks like Play-Doh almost, in a way that I can't really explain in any other way than I already did. But yeah, for the room itself, I had imagined that there were sort of tentacles, or not tentacles, well, tentacles maybe, that were sort of being used, more tube-like things that were sort of being fed into Link or Zelda, and were keeping him alive and healing him from all his wounds. And the idea was that it would have taken way longer for him to be revived than in Breath of the Wild. So whereas in Breath of the Wild it took 100 years, and he just about manages to, like, at the very last second, go and save Zelda and Hyrule is free. But in this universe, he doesn't wake up after 100 years, and Zelda fails, and her protection collapses, and Calamity Ganon goes free and rises, and he eventually even bonds maybe with Ganondorf, who is in the catacombs underneath Hyrule Castle, because, I mean, in Tears of the Kingdom, it's sort of implied that he was going to rise in the next few years either way. Like, they, of course, do kind of wake him by just, like, walking into the chamber, but the implication is that he would have awoken anyway, and so in this universe he has, and sort of bonds with Calamity Ganon into Calamity Ganondorf or some shit. Calamity Scourge of Hyrule, Calamity Ganondorf, I don't know. Some cool boss bar is going to be up. I can't wait to start designing the monsters. I'm actually so excited for that. This whole bit was kind of a drag for me, but I ended up having a lot of fun with it anyway. But I just kept thinking about how much I wanted to design the monsters, and I kept trying to work them into it. Like, I was like, maybe you meet a Keese on the way out and I can design a Keese. Come on, maybe? But I decided that it was for the best if I just skipped on that and did it in another episode, so I can have more content. I'm farming content. But yeah, the idea for the chamber is the tentacle stuff, and they sort of go into him and are very invasive, and probably a metaphor for violation in some way that I haven't intended but might exist anyway. I wanted to sort of separate the Zonai tech from the the Sheikah tech from the Hyrulean architecture, because what I imagined is that this was like a big cavern that was connected to the outside world through like a narrow cave mouth tunnel thing, and then like only the necessary bits were there, and so that's the original Sheikah tech, and it's shaped like that because it conducts the force, or whatever the latent Hyrulean good power is, and so it needs to be shaped like that. But then when the Hyruleans discovered the Guardians and the giant fucking mech suits that they used to fight Ganon and failed, they also discovered the Shrine of Resurrection, but it was this sort of dingy little place with only the bare necessities, and so they took initiative and decided to add in their own architecture to make it feel more grand. And that's the architecture that we see. The floor and the Sheikah tech was left there by the Sheikah people, like so long ago. But the walls and all the grander sort of Gothic architecture was put in later by the resident Hyruleans. And I wanted to illustrate a sort of very stark contrast between those two things. And I probably should have added some more like deterioration on the floor and the tech itself, but I already don't like drawing backgrounds that much. And I had a lot of trouble with this one because I wanted to illustrate the tubes as sort of worm-like, and I tried to photo bash something in there, but it just wasn't working, and so I spent like ages fiddling around with it. And the one I ended up with, I think, is like nice, but it's still not what I want. And you're just gonna have to accept it for what it is, because that's all I can give you at this moment in time. After I finished the design for Zelda, Link, whatever, joke's over, I was quite happy with it in the moment, but when I came back to it, I honestly, I was like, what the fuck was I thinking? It looks so dog shit. And I mean, it's not dog shit, it's fine. But it's not very Souls-like, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. There's elements that don't like track. The chainmail that I put in there looks like fur, and so I just decided to go back into it and give it sort of like a rough fix. And it's not as like rendered as the other design, even though the other design isn't honestly that well rendered, but I feel like it's a better design as a design, and that's the most important part for a design, you know? Maybe I'll come back to it and fully render it out. Maybe I'll even do like a close-up of Link for the thumbnail. I don't know. What gets you to click on a thumbnail? Maybe I should put in... Maybe I should give him boobs. Oh, Gerudo outfit Link! Oh man, that's gonna get my sub count up by 1. Maybe. Anyway, stay excited. Hey, if you keep watching this series, Gerudo Link is going to show up eventually, or Gerudo Link. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but I pronounce it either way. It's sort of a GIF situation. It's whatever you want, whatever you like. I'm not going to judge you that harshly, but unless you pronounce it like Gerudo Link, which is probably... Maybe that's because the GIF versus GIF debate was eventually settled by the guy himself saying that it's just pronounced YIF, but like nobody liked it and nobody decided to do that, and everybody thought that was a terrible idea. And I'm glad that we have this connection as humans, that we can all understand when something is so incredibly dog shit that it has to be vetoed. It just doesn't. YIF. Black, dark, empty, an overwhelming feeling of loss. Memories, snatches of sound, the clash of metal, light, searing, aggressive, pain. You jerk awake. Screaming is not an option. Tubes snake their way in and out of your mouth, nose, and eyes. There's a pressure on your eardrums. It feels as if you're underwater. It's hard to move. It feels like you never have. In this moment, it's hard to imagine you ever will. In an effort that makes the insides of your eyelids light up like a Picori festival, you manage to twist, sliding some of the tubes out of the respective holes. It feels slithery. A shiver runs up and down your spine. It's going to be hard to forget that feeling. Now that the tubes are out, the urge to breathe begins to creep over you. You begin to grasp at the vines or tentacles or whatever. Which way is up? You pick a direction and hope. Your lungs begin to protest. Panic sets in. Some part of you suggests that it might be a very good idea to just breathe in. Fill your lungs with liquid. You don't let in and keep struggling in the direction that you hope is upward, but it's slow going. Finally, your body bypasses your brain and inhales. It stings like a bit. You break the surface. Water spills from your mouth as you retch. The tubes pull at you, urging you to come back down. One of them slithers its way into your mouth, but you tug it away quickly. Disoriented, you splash your way to the bank, the tubes protesting the whole way. The air is cold, dry. Part of you wants nothing more than to sink back into the warm water. The other part still remembers the feeling of tubes sliding their way out of your lungs. You scrabble at the stone bank and heave your way out of the water. It would have been a Herculean effort if Hercules existed in this universe. You lie on your back and pant. It doesn't help or make you feel better, but it feels appropriate. 3 eternities later, you decide you've drawn it out long enough and begin the process colloquially known as getting up. Your joints creak, which feels unfair considering how oily the tentacles felt. Once risen, you take a look around. The walls on either side are Gothic, or would be if the Gothic people existed in this universe. Maybe they did. As it is, you ascribe them as tall and rich in arches. They are lined with crouching statues, each one holding a bowl. Large horns sprout from each limestone head. You guess it's limestone because that's the only stone word you remember at this moment. Some of the bowls have rupees in them. As you watch, a rupee disintegrates. The statue's eyes glow red for a moment. Then, a tube sitting directly below the statue pulses. Throbbing, you might call it. The pool glows brighter for a moment. The tubes slither excitedly. You remember the feeling of them and try to throw up again, but your stomach is now empty of even glowing blue slime water. You look toward the far end of the chamber. Jutting out of the cave wall are surprisingly smooth, roundish, dark things. Rocks, maybe. Blue light pulses through channels carved into them. Raised brownish rocks line larger channels. It looks like a caveman's idea of a cyberpunk future. Other than that, there are several torches that light up the place. You silently thank the resident torchkeeper for being diligent in his work. Imagining the only light source being slimy magic water makes your skin itch. Satisfied with your exhaustive analysis of the chamber, you turn to face the stairs. The stairs lead up to a door. Hooray! You walk up the stairs, slipping where you're not careful. Thanks, Blue Slime. As you breast the top of the stairs without making any jokes about boobs, a cold breeze greets you. You would inhale, thankfully, but you're too preoccupied being really, really cold. You stumble forward and start making your way through the passage. The slap of your feet on the maybe limestone floor echoes through the chamber, resembling a round of applause for your pitiful attempt at perambulation. The light dims as you leave the well-lit chamber farther behind. You curse the resident torchkeeper for being so selective in his efforts. Your toe slams into something. You yelp and grab at your foot, hopping on the other as is traditional when you stub your toe. Your eyes finally adjust to the darkness, and you see that the investigative efforts of your toe have discovered a chest. You carefully raise the lid, ready to slap away any tentacles that it might have to offer. Instead, a family tree of moths flutter out. You patiently wait for them to move along before opening the chest further. Inside is a bundle of cloth, probably usable only to blow your nose into. Its edges frayed and torn, holes littering it. Thanks, moths. You pick it up, and it unfolds into the rough shape of a shirt. You're about to dismiss it as a landfill when a gust of cold wind reminds you that pickiness is a luxury. Along with this, you find a stupid-looking hat and trousers that a beggar would turn up his nose at. No boots yet. Stingy chest. Once decent, you continue your ascent. The walls are sporting an arch-heavy style, similar to the magic water room. The floor is therefore you feel a shame. It doesn't match the tall, spire-like look of the walls, instead showing a pattern of twisting, interconnecting shapes slithering along it, putting you in mind of the dreadful tubes. Perhaps the walls were put in later by someone who had some sense of dramatics. Your foot squelches into a pile of goo. A bolt of electricity shoots up your leg. Pain abounds. You jerk it back, but the goo comes along with. You try and shake it off, but your leg begins to numb. You scream, anger welling up inside you, fear as well. Your blood pumps faster, your breathing comes in short bursts, your vision turns red, and you're fine. The last bit of goo drips off your leg and slaps onto the floor. No more touching goo. As you look, a sword is sticking out of the pile. You grab the handle and rip it out. The edge has been eaten away by the goo and is giving off a soft pink glow, but still, better than nothing. Thoroughly put off by all forms of magic slime, you redouble your efforts to leave the corridor of not goodness. Your efforts are rewarded when the tunnel begins to get lighter again. You step between the piles of reddish goo and head onward. As you turn a corner, a doorway beckons you at the top of some rugged steps. The light gets brighter as you head toward it, and you have to cover your eyes. You stagger up the stairs and, panting, emerge into the sunlight. The beautiful sunny landscape with crisscrossing rainbows and candy cane trees fails to greet you. In its stead, thank you for watching. I love you. Hang on. Thank you. Oh, whoops. That's not what I meant to do. Whatever. Thank you for watching. Wow, my hair looks great. What the fuck? Thank you for watching. Man, great job on the watching. Love you. Mwah.